Welcome to another episode of the Raw for More podcast, where we show you how to play to win without burning out. I am your host, Marilise de Villiers-Basson. If you've ever sensed that there must be more to work and life than what you're currently experiencing, you've come to exactly the right place. You're caught in what I call the MOAR paradox, constantly striving for more and never feeling enough. You are successful on paper, yet you feel empty inside. You know something needs to shift, but you don't know where to start. Start with you. You are meant for more, and you are already more than enough. Today, right here, right now. When we learn to roar for more from the inside out, the magic happens. I'm back on the couch here with Andrea Fraser today. Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
So amazing to have you back. You may remember that our previous episode, Andrea interviewed me. That was our very first episode. And so we're back for more, no pun intended. And so Andrea is back today to ask me some questions, and we're just going to rock and roll. Over to you, Andrea.
How are you doing today, Marilise?
I'm good. Fighting off a bit of a cold for the last few days, but it's been really great to have such a eventful couple of weeks or few weeks in the run up to the launch. And I think it's just inevitable that the system shuts down a little bit once you've done a big thing like that, and you just kind of have to really be kind to yourself. I'm in that space now where I'm really trying to be kind to myself.
And how was the launch? What was it? Did it go exactly as you planned to, or were there mishaps along the way, or was it just going according to plan and you were like, yes?
On the evening, it was absolutely everything and more than what I could have ever asked for. In the run-up, not so much. Quite a few things happened, like days before we had some hiccups with pricing. I wanted to run like a free or like a Amazon special, and Amazon was giving us some problems, so there were lots of little hiccups along the way and lots of sort of last minute things to deal with. I think it's inevitable. You always have that. But all in all, on the day, I've had such an amazing group of people around me, yourself included, and I could just enjoy the evening, and I could not be happier with how the evening turned out. It was amazing.
How did it feel being surrounded by friends and family and the speeches that were given? How did you feel in that moment? Were you just taking it all in, overwhelmed?
I mean, it's really amazing how you have that sort of surreal moment of progress. And for me, the big comparison was really with how different this launch felt to the first launch of my first book, Raw. And I just show. So this was the first book, Raw, that I launched in December 2019. So 6 years ago now. And then 2 weeks ago, we launched MOAR, so how to play to win without burning out. So with Raw, I was in the early stages of my own kind of healing journey, after leaving that corporate bullying environment, and actually writing about taming the bully inside out was a tough ride. It was a tough process, and it was early days. So I remember that sinking feeling in December when my book launched, my first book, Raw, launched, and I just wanted the earth to swallow me. I literally wasn't feeling proud. I felt like a fraud. It was a really bizarre feeling, and I didn't end up really talking about the book or promoting the book in the first 6 months. And of course, that first 6 months also coincided with COVID. So the world was just bonkers at the time. Whereas with MOAR, it was such a different feeling. First of all, I'm back in South Africa now. I'm back with my people. In the UK, I remember I was I was on my own in my house in London when the book launched, and I didn't actually celebrate it. I didn't have a launch planned because I just don't think I was there yet. And with this one, I planned the launch for many months in advance. I was so happy to invite all my kind of inner circle, especially family. After 18 years in the UK, you really appreciate it when you can have events like this and you have your family with you. I mean, that's so incredibly special. And so I just think the energy around the book, and I've been speaking about the book a lot even before it was out, and we talked a lot about it on social media already. And just the energy around it was an energy and a feeling and a sense of being proud, and just that small kind of comparison between book one and book two, even that for me was a reflection on progress. And my whole curriculum is about progress over perfection. So I'm so proud that I can say, it wasn't perfect. We didn't finish everything we wanted to finish, but at least it was good enough.
Yeah. And the writing process around, what are things you did differently when you wrote MOAR compared to RAW? Was it different? Was it a different energy? And writing RAW, were you more in one specific headspace, and then writing MOAR, was it different?
Very different, very, very different. First book was a tough process. I put an incredible amount of pressure on myself. I think Scott, who worked with us, can probably tell the story better than I can, because he was there for book one and book two. And, we were both reflecting the other day on how different this process felt. I think I've learned, and this is part of the curriculum and this part of the last couple of years of my life, I think I've learned that I'm no longer doing things if I'm not enjoying the process. I'm really quite honest with myself about why are you doing this, and it's always important for me to do things for the right reasons. And so I've been getting into this sort of real place in the last 2 years where I've sort of shifted after my most recent bout of burnout in December 23, when we moved into our dream home, and I just couldn't actually enjoy it because everything was just so wild that year, and the move and the schools and the business, and trying to put so much on my plate again, and having that whole do energy as opposed to be energy. We've spoken about that in the first podcast quite a lot. So it was really interesting how, I've been, living my new curriculum, being present, being peaceful, being powerful in the actual writing process. And so, I always ask for accountability. So with my first book, I had a publisher, Rethink Press. With the second book, I decided to go indie publishing, so self-published. And so I needed someone to hold me accountable. I didn't have the publisher to hold me accountable. So I ended up working with Philippa Mitchell, and we just wrote chapter by chapter. She journeyed with me. She gave me feedback. And, that accountability was really important, but I really enjoyed the process this time round.
Do you think that when you write SOAR, in the trilogy that you've mentioned, I think in episode 1, do you think you have a new way of looking at how to write the next book?
Yeah, I will have to live the curriculum first. I probably won't publish another book for another few years. For me, it's important to come from a place of sharing my lived experience. Your message is for you first. I always say that. I feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record. I repeat myself a lot, but it's really important that, and I think it's going to be even more opportunity to lean into that enjoyment of the process. It's been different as well, because with the second book, I had the benefit of AI and, working with Claude, specifically, and that was also a journey, like figuring out how to use AI and training and prompting and all that sort of thing, training the tool to write in your voice and the prompting and getting better and more conditioned at doing that. So even that process for like 12 months, and just learning to use AI for the first time, I was so not going to use AI to write my book. And then Philippa actually said, try it. It's amazing. And then I did. I sort of dipped my toe in, and a whole new world opened up for me. So that was really, really special. So I think there's always going to be an evolution, but I don't think, Raw, for example, I apologize more. I actually wanted to write in 2023. And I ended up writing it in 2025 because I had 2 more years of life to live to come full circle in my hero's journey before I could actually write the book. So who knows how long it's going to take before I write Saw. We'll see.
You mentioned writing with AI.
Yes.
What was that experience like compared to writing raw?
I mean, you start with a blank sheet, when you write from scratch. And it takes so much longer. The benefit of the AI is that you can really give it a brief, and you can get to like 50-60% on the first draft, and then the work starts. So I feel like I've been able to have the quality, raise the bar on the quality of my thinking and refine my thinking a lot more. And, I've actually had a little debate with someone last week about authenticity, and is it possible to be authentic when you write with AI? And, I've had to learn to do that, because there's some real phrases that AI uses, and you get to learn those phrases after a little while. But it was so interesting how much the process of iteration and prompting, sometimes, we lost the plots. I usually, when I didn't have a clear sort of idea in my mind about what I wanted the output to be, Claude, went through very, very, very kind of big rabbit holes with me, and then we managed to pull things back on track. So some chapters were easier to write than others, but there was a direct correlation with the clarity of my thinking in terms of what I wanted to get out of the chapter. So it's interesting, but it was recognizing that there are security risks. So it's kind of about what type of information are you uploading into the tool. And making sure that it's not like information that can expose you too much. My book, for example, I uploaded raw, my first book, which is out in the public domain anyway, because it's obviously, it's there, people can buy the book. But I needed to do that to train Claude on my tone of voice and the way I write. So it created what it called sort of a brave narrative tone of voice, clear, concise, to the point, putting kind of difficult concepts into easy language. And so it gave me a really good head start writing more, so that I could actually base the structure of the book on the same structure that I had raw, but also the actual writing style was already kind of in the tool, and we could work with that.
Yeah. And so raw and more, there's obviously a distinct difference in how to use the book and the purpose that it's for, each book. And with all the self-help books in today's society, how would you, or what was your thinking when you were writing more, to not maybe align specifically with the normal self-help books out there?
Yeah, so I mean, the methodology, and again, Raw's methodology is all about empowering you to speak up. Raw is about speaking up. It's about finding your voice, and it's about igniting and unleashing your authentic voice. The process: recognize, observe, assert, redirect. So that is a very clear process that people can follow to have courageous conversations in the workplace. So workplace, personal, both equally relevant, but it's really about finding ways to respond mindfully. So when you have a conversation with someone who triggers you, it's so easy to react, to be emotional. And so I had to learn the hard way to respond mindfully, to be really kind of cool and calm and collected and present, to listen, to really, have that power in my own hands to respond the way that I want to respond, and not let my emotions get the better of me. So I think that's what the gift is of raw. I don't know if it's different to other self-help books, but that's just my methodology and how I learned the hard way in terms of my experience with the bully in the workplace, but then also being my own biggest bully. So the inner roar is also super important. And that's why I talk about inside out transformation, because you've got to tackle the conversation in your head first. And you've got to change the conversation that you're having with yourself before you can actually start really changing the conversation you're having with other people. So this is where the I am more than enough piece comes in, because you've got to then, believe that you're good enough, that you're more than enough, so that you can actually show up with no apology, and you can be the best version of you, and you can engage with people in a very, very assertive way. And that's why step 3 of the ROAR process is assert, because you have to be assertive, you have to be confident, and it's important. It's important that you actually do not make yourself small and apologize. So often it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, but I just want to ask a question, or may I ask a question? No, you don't ask for permission. You ask the question. And so that for me is a really important, the philosophy of ROAR is inside out transformation, the inner roar, the outer roar, speaking up in tough situations. Do not shy away, face the difficult conversations. But MOAR is incorporating ROAR, right? So this is why we're talking about ROAR for more, because the ROAR blueprint is at the heart of the MOAR book. So chapter 1 of MOAR is essentially the ROAR blueprint, because you've got to roar every step of the way in order to achieve your MOAR. So ROAR is absolutely integral to MOAR. So my ROAR methodology is integral to the ROAR for More hero's journey, which is essentially what this book is all about. Obviously we talk about well-being in the workplace, which is the context, but then from chapters 4 onwards, 4 to 9, it's all about taking you on this ROAR for More hero's journey. And so the methodology in ROAR is fully embedded into the MOAR methodology. And so the MOAR methodology is actually the hero's journey, which is about mapping your adventure. So it spells MOAR, mapping your adventure, open your life force, act with heart, and then rise through the fire to roar for more. And so it actually spells more as well.
For younger generations, how do they find the more in their life? Because I know that Gen Z is a hot topic in corporates and that we operate a lot differently to older generations. But on social media, there's a lot more of a feeling that a lot of young people feel unfulfilled in their jobs. They feel like they're just going through the motions. So what advice and how can more be used for a younger person trying to find both fulfillment and their role?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I think there's a sort of an element of what we're navigating in the world right now is so unique with AI and all the advancements in technology. And so what's becoming evident to me is that authenticity is becoming a superpower now. We really have to become or even more authentic, right? So we almost have this return to humanity. So ironically, we have all this new tech, but now we've actually got to become more human in order to stand out, because otherwise we're just a carbon copy of any AI that's written something. So I think that the opportunity for youngsters and young people and young professionals is really to kind of ask yourself some really important questions. I think often when you go study something, you go and study and you decide on a career, it's not what you end up doing. 99% of the time, it's not what you end up doing. But it's good to have that as a foundation, as a grounding, as a backup. But I think my invitation to any young professional is to get that qualification, do the something that's going to give you that backup, that grounding, but then know the world's your oyster. But it's important that you start asking the questions, because our brains are clever. Our brains want to solve these problems. So once we start asking the questions, it will come. And be brave enough to start something new, even if you have to start it part-time on the side. I hope that helps.
No, I think it definitely does, because there's just so much information out there. And as a young person myself, you don't always know where to start.
Yeah.
So I think the starting point is quite important. And I think that already helps. It makes me feel quite inspired as someone who's in drama, is doing a master's, but also doing social media, all these other things, trying to find how do I build my life forward in something other than just drama. So I'm sure there's also young people out there that might agree. You mentioned career and shaping your career, and you've shaped quite a remarkable career.
Thank you.
Something that, when I looked at your LinkedIn, I was like, wow, she's a power woman.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So I was wondering, could you talk more about how you went about changing careers or going into corporate coaching? I know that's something that you do, and I'm sure people out there would like to know more about, Marilise behind more than just the author.
Well, someone called me a polymath the other day. I actually had to go and Google it because I'm like, what the hell is a polymath?
Yeah.
And it turns out it's someone who does a lot of different things really well, but it was a big compliment. Anyways, okay, so and my mum often reminds me, she's like, Marilise, when you went to the test, for when I was still at school, and you had to be tested for what you can study after school. It's like you could basically do anything. You could become an architect, you can become an accountant, you can study music. So I had a lot of different things that I tested for. So I think I've always been really blessed and lucky that I've had very, very broad interests. So I mean, the decision to study accounting was very much, like I'm going to study accounting. It's a safe option. I'm going to start with BAC because then if I fail subjects, I can just drop subjects and I'll probably end up with a BCom. That was kind of my rationale. And then fast forward 3 years, I got my BAc degree, and then one of my friends, Marzan, and I we decided earlier in the year already. It was one evening in Finley's. Finley's used to be the pub. It's now called New Bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, we're in Stellenbosch.
Yes.
But anyway, so we had a little drink and a few drinks, and we decided that we're not going to do our honors full time. I just knew that my marks weren't good enough, and so she decided that she's going to go overseas. I decided that I'm going to work. I'm going to start my articles and I'm going to do my honors part time. And that was a good decision for me because I then got into the world of work and I could do my honors part-time through UNISA. And so by working and practically applying all the accounting, I was able to actually really understand it. And then it helped for me to pass my honors. So it worked in my favor. And so I ended up qualifying in 6 years. So that was what was wonderful. I still don't know to this day how I passed my chartered accountancy exams. I still have nightmares. I have dreams that my partner calls me and she tells me that they've made a mistake. I still have the dream. It's like it's serious. Wow. I still don't know how. But anyway, on paper, I'm a chartered accountant. And so when I started my articles, this was now, back in like 2000, this is many, many years ago, 26 years ago, I really had a very strong feeling on day one that I wanted to be the person in the front of the room delivering the training. She had these beautiful, like red patent high heel shoes on. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, that's what I want to do. I just knew. And then 3 years later, as soon as I qualified, I became the training manager for the Western Cape in the Cape Town office at my organization. So that was a real serendipitous kind of moment, but also a real kind of knowing and a trusting of the gut that that's what I want to do. And I mean, I've built a career around training and development. So I've spent the majority of my corporate career now as a trainer, as a coach. And so I was very fortunate with my organization to then move into consulting. So I've built my whole career around people and change consulting, designing and developing and delivering programs, personal development programs and technical programs for clients. And as my career evolved, I pivoted. So I was able to pivot. So after my second son was born, I went back to work. This was back in 2010. They just started a cybersecurity function. So I'm in London at the time, just gone back to work. They've started building cybersecurity function in the organization, and I was able to join that team. I remember having a conversation with one of the CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers. His name was William Beer, and he said to me, Marilise, this is not a technology problem we're trying to solve only. This is actually as much a people problem as it is a tech problem. It's actually more a people problem. And so he said, we need someone like you with your background, with your skill sets to help us figure this out. So I actually was part of the team developing the people proposition. And so I've been bringing all of that with me into my own business, which I started 8 years ago. And it's just really amazing how, obviously the way I started my own business isn't like I wasn't this kind of like amazingly brave person to step away. I literally reached the point of enough is enough, burnouts, after working for the bully for many, many years, and just got to that point of, I can't do this anymore. And I actually, I'm grateful now today that happened, because it's sort of that was the kind of the push that I needed to then step away and start my own thing. And so I've been journeying as an entrepreneur the last 8 years. Early days, I qualified as a certified high performance coach, and that's what I absolutely love doing. I love working with individuals and teams. It's high performance in a corporate context, so it's not sport high performance, it's more corporate, and how do you get clarity and master productivity and master physiology and psychology and persuasion and all those beautiful things. And writing my books, and just doing lots of consultancy work to help organizations embed secure mindset and habits into their cultures. And I absolutely love what I do now.
That's amazing to hear, and it's actually quite inspiring.
Thank you.
To know that at any age, when you feel like enough is enough, you can just decide, okay, this is the route I'm going to try now. And if that route's just not for me, I'll try another one.
100%. Do you know, and it's so amazing because nothing's forever.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't have that approach, I probably never would have moved back to South Africa, because we had this kind of like, we lived in England for 18 years, and now suddenly we're deciding, we're going to come back to SA. But the only thing that made me comfortable about the decision was that if it doesn't work out, we have British passports, we can always go back. And it was like that whole thing of, it's only the next chapter. It's not forever. And I really want to encourage people to think about, every day is actually a new chapter. Let's face it. You start every day new. Every day is an opportunity, a new opportunity to do something new, to become a better version of yourself. Every moment of every day, let's face it. But I think if we can learn to live more in the present and be more future oriented, and learn that, we actually move forwards by failing, by making mistakes, then life becomes so much easier to navigate, because we know it's okay.
Yeah. So burnout is a very popular topic, both on social media and amongst all the different generations. And I think that a lot of people have maybe somewhat of an understanding of what burnout is, but they're not quite sure. And I know you being a corporate coach, you've dealt with a lot of people who have burnout.
Yes.
But I was wondering, from your experience and your knowledge, what is burnout? And also, who is most prone to burning out, particularly in the workplace?
Let's tackle the first question. What is burnout? So I'll just try and describe the feeling, because I think it's so hard to really know if you don't know what it kind of feels like. So it is really, you get to a point where nothing matters anymore. You have that sense of complete and utter emptiness inside. You are so exhausted, you are so tired, and it's just I've sort of used the words dark night of the soul. Now it's not something we necessarily want to go into right now. It's quite a deep conversation. But for me, it's just that real feeling of darkness and nothing happens, nothing matters anymore. But I mean, I have a rest and release and recharge guide that we will share. We can share the link in the show notes. And I just want to sort of read officially, because the World Health Organization came out with a definition in June 2019. Oh, wow. So burnout is a syndrome resulting from chronic, so this is long-term, workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. So it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time, over a long period of time, and it's chronic. Okay, so burnout is a state of physical, emotional, or mental exhaustion caused by long-term involvement in emotionally demanding situations. It's a gradual process whereby deeply committed, driven, and passionate individuals become disillusioned with a job or career from which they've previously derived much of their identity and meaning. Okay, and so there are sort of three dimensions, right? Three dimensions of burnout: exhaustion, cynicism, and inefficacy. So in exhaustion is all about feeling emotionally overextended and exhausted by work. Cynicism is that distancing yourself from other people and the people that you work with. You're kind of really cynic. And then inefficacy. So the inefficacy is the low self-esteem, the low self-worth, feeling empty, that emptiness that I've described, and really just being unable to feel positive. So I hope that helps, but let's include in the show notes, let's include the download for the rest and release guide, because this is really what I've sort of created to help people overcome burnout. So there's a really great sort of little tool. It's called the Daily Meds, that you can actually download to know how to overcome the burnouts. So Daily Meds is your meditation, your exercise, your diet, and your sleep. Why are high performers prone to burnout? I think that was your second question. Or who are most? Okay, so high performers, high achievers are most prone to burning out. And it's really because we don't prioritize our well-being. So self-care is the last thing on our to-do list. And that's why I always say prioritize you, or prioritize your well-being on your list of priorities, because we don't prioritize ourselves. We have to start prioritizing ourselves. We have to put it on the calendar. Otherwise it's not going to happen. We don't feel the day, so it's also about you're not intentional enough about how you want to show up and how you want to feel every day. So we have to become more intentional about how we want to show up, how we want to feel. And then lastly, it's the ambition piece. So your ambition is unmet. So you do activities every day that are not aligned with your dreams and your goals. So we talked about that a little bit throughout this podcast, about the importance of loving what you do. And so if you don't love what you do, if you don't align your activities with your dreams and your goals, you probably will find yourself in a burnout situation sooner or later. So I think it's important that we really prioritize ourselves, prioritize our well-being. We have to feel the day. We've got to be intentional about how we want to show up and how we want to feel. And we've got to really, really find our unique, authentic purpose. What is that thing that lights us up, that burning desire, that fire inside of you that really brings you to life, that really helps you to show up as the best version of yourself.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm just taking that all in, because your advice kind of not goes against, but from what I've heard, people always say passion doesn't pay the bills. And it doesn't matter to love what you do, because it doesn't pay the bills. And now you're saying, but if you love what you do, you can be really, really good at it, and it fills your own cup. So for people who are maybe looking to pivot into something passionate, something that they want to spend the rest of their life doing, even if it's unconventional. What are 3 things, just to wrap this up, 3 things you can, or advice you'd give to them to start this new journey of loving what they do?
Yeah.
And choosing something different that someone else would have chosen for them.
Yeah. Passion doesn't pay the bills. I mean, it's such a loaded statement. And I mean, how do we know that's true? I personally believe that if you're passionate about what you do, you will inevitably become successful. So it may not be immediately, it may not be tomorrow, but over time, if you stick to your dreams and your passions, you will become successful. But I think, we've got to start really challenging these throwaway comments of, and who are these comments coming from? So you won't take marriage advice from your divorced friend, right? So I think we have to be really careful when we hear things like passion doesn't pay the bills. Like, who is that coming from? People will have views and opinions, but it's really important that you really check in with, how do we know that's true? I often, especially when people have limiting conversations with themselves, and they say out loud something kind of, self-deprecating, like, I'm not good enough, then, or my boss only praises me because I'm needy. I'm like, how do you know that's true? I'm just using an example, but it's like, how do you know that's true? Have you asked your boss why he's praising you or she is praising you? And so very, very important is that you've always got to be curious, and you've always got to be wondering, who is it coming from? But anyway, also, how do I know that's true? So that's probably two of the points, sort of captured in one. And then I've always had to work in a consulting role to pay the bills, because I've got a young family and I'm responsible, and I'm building the coaching business. So it's about, finding a way. And, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to completely step away. It's about, it might need to start really small, really, really like little. But if you keep coming back to it, if you keep investing in it, if you keep going in baby steps, it will inevitably, it will inevitably grow into something. It's just then a case of making sure that you can really manage your energy as well, because often in a big job, in a full-time job, there's no time for anything else. So this is where you've also got to start getting a little bit more maybe selfish is not necessarily the right word, but it's to say, how much of yourself and your time are you giving to your company? Can you take maybe half an hour or an hour to invest in your own passion, in your own dream? Don't always feel like you've got to give everything to your company. The company is there, working hours. There's a lot of hours in the day. There's 24 hours in the day. So I think where there's a will, there is a way. And passion, absolutely every day of the week, I passionately believe, if you follow your passion, if you follow your dreams, you will become successful.
Thank you so much for your time, Marilise. I always enjoy talking to you, and I'm always learning something new and taking something home. And even when I work, I'm like, I need to take time for myself as well when
Amazing.
I need to, because you're just more proactive in that way.
Intentional. We talked about being intentional, and I know you're a high performer, and I know you fall into all of those traps, and working very long hours, working very, very hard. So I hope you take the advice today with you. Definitely. Well, that's everything for today, everyone. I'm so happy that you're here. If you loved the conversation, please subscribe to the Raw for More podcast. We need those subscribers. And then I just would also invite you to check out my book. My new book, MOAR, is now available on Amazon, but it's also shortly going to be available on Takealot and in all kind of major South African bookstores. Raw will also be available in South Africa for the first time in 2026. Obviously, this one was published, as I said earlier, in 2019. But you'll be able to buy also Raw online and in store here in South Africa in all the major bookstores as well. So just a little reminder, this is where we don't play small anymore. So no more playing small. Own your magic. Your message matters. Lots of love, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.